one big joke. It's a fucked up world. Here we are in.
I'm a fucking idiot, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Reason Reborn. And I am your host, big, stupid, dumb, jerk, asshole who don't know how to work a goddamn program and who wants to slap the shit out of himself because of how stupid he is. And I'm here with my co-host, Cardiac. How are you, sir?
A little jealous. You had like a really long title, and I'm just Cardiac. I'm not even Cardiac similar.
Well, Cardiac the smart, Cardiac the wise, Cardiac the better than me, Cardiac the not a stupid asshole who mutes his microphone and didn't realize until 30 minutes into a recording that his microphone was muted. God damn, I'm an idiot. So, we were trying to make this a pretty quick, tight, short show, and then we had to reset because, again, I am an idiot. So apologies. I know I don't remember the episode number or anything like that because fuck all that shit. And we were having a really, really good discussion about guns and all that stuff. We talked about hurricanes. Just to go over the things that we were talking about. One, we talked about Trump and his ridiculous hurricane notions, getting to a fight with the media over whether or not Alabama was going to get hit or not. He's a fucking moron. We all know that. He also talked about him wanting to nuke fucking hurricanes, which is disgusting. By the way, his comments came through, so if you want to listen to that, I can post it. You can listen to a man talk to himself as another man sits in like pantomimes talking. Like, I feel like I should actually go through and dub that whole thing with my voice over to like try to go over it and dub it and oh shit. Yeah, basically, you know.
What's up on the Trump comments about the hurricane stuff? So, for those of you living under a rock, Hurricane Dorian shot of the East Coast. It's still going right now. Over the last few days, I think to your point, Trump put out some, I don't know where you got it from, some path that projected it to hit Alabama or something. Everybody correctly noted that this is fucking
and it's funny because having looked at the pictures, it looked like the pictures that he put out were more of like, I won't say temperature, but like climate ratings and things like that, like showing like the effect that it was going to have on the area, overall area, as far as like, you know, temperatures and humidity and things like that, not necessarily its path, because it was a color coded chart and it kind of showed like, you know, this area was like, you know, at a moderate temperature color or whatever, you know, the warmer colors were closer towards the hurricane, where the cooler colors were toward further out and things like that. And it was like, where did you get that from? Like, seriously.
Well, I guess the major point there is he didn't get it from where he should have, because, you know, it's one thing to be wrong. It's one thing to be stubbornly wrong to the point where you won't back down even though you're proven wrong. But he's the president of the United States. He has access to whatever information he could possibly want. He has easy, quick access to whatever experts he could possibly want. There's no reason to be this fucking wrong this publicly and to stick by it. It doesn't make any sense. The only reason he's in these positions because he just forces this issue where he's constantly on the internet looking up random bullshit. That's why he'll retweet conspiracy theory based things, because he's not really getting information from like a real source. He's just like any other asshole, like looking up bullshit on the internet and then just sharing it like everybody else.
But it's not like he's looking at a news outlet. He's just looking at random shit. That's what makes it worse. Like, I don't know.
Where the president is getting his intel from, just random bullshit.
Yeah. I just realized something, by the way. My Canadian bacon joke is lost to the ether. God damn it. I had a really good Canadian bacon joke, guys. You would have loved it. Anyway, we're not going to go over that again.
Anyway.
I mean, she's used to pork. Look at the pig she's married to. Okay, I feel vindicated.
I don't know if we had touched on it last time we recorded it, but this idea of dropping a nuke in a hurricane, I do think that their team or whatever is denied that he said this, but come on. He has no benefit of the doubt. He's an idiot, and he says dumb shit like that all the time.
Yeah.
And the fact that I can't even fathom why you would possibly think that is a good idea. And I'm sure people are going to point out and say, like, oh, other people have thought about this before. Like, yeah, and they were wrong. And it's 2019, we know better.
Like, do you not understand what a nuke does? That's the thing. Like, I feel like he doesn't understand the concept of what nuclear fallout is, or, you know, the ramifications of dropping radiation in a fucking, like, essentially a high wind situation at that. You know.
That was the interesting thing. Like, somebody was like, you know, with that heavy wind, it would just carry it out even further.
Right. It's like, okay.
One of the worst places to drop.
It's like, to save Florida, you destroy the entire Caribbean, and pretty much the eastern seaboard, as well as Greenland, which you're trying to buy, because you're just going to push that far north, the nuclear waste. So,
to be fair, I'm in Florida. I'm important. I do think I'm more destroying the rest of the world, but seems like a dumb strategy.
I mean, to be fair, Florida is kind of destroying the world, like, from, you know, a social standpoint. So, I guess it wouldn't matter to you guys. Yeah, yeah, the best. That's why there's FloridaMan.com. I cannot tell you how crazy it is that a fucking state is so batshit insane that they created something called FloridaMan.com because you're so used to hearing a Florida man did this dumb shit.
What I'm hearing is that you're jealous that we have a superhero and you all have shit.
True, we do have shit. Trump does live in D.C. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Just this notion. I mean, it sounds like something a 4-year-old would say. It's like, why don't we just explode it? Like, what the fuck?
No, because a 4-year-old would probably say, get Superman to blow it away. Because a 4-year-old has more fucking sense than the President of the United States. A 4-year-old's not going to tell you to blow it up. He's going to tell you to get his favorite superhero to help save the day. Which makes sense in comparison, which is sad.
If you're serious, why don't you actually get some scientists together and see if they have?
You just said the magic word, scientists. There's a saying. Science, what?
If you care about preventing the shit, why don't you talk to people who actually know what the fuck they're talking about?
Because I can pull up a chart by Googling it and prove to you that what I said is true, instead of listening to the thousands of people who study weather and all of that telling you that they had no idea that you would think that they said that the storm was going after Alabama, because they never said it, you know. So no, he don't want to listen to no expert. The fuck, he's the expert. He has the internet, so he knows all.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of people seem to have this attitude increasingly, but you've definitely seen video compilations of him saying, like, nobody knows more about XYZ than me, about, like, many different fields, which doesn't make any sense to me, that he's just that arrogant. To the point where it's genuinely frightening that he actually feels this confident about everything that he's talking about. Because I've never heard, I don't think I've ever heard him talk about something where he actually sounded like an expert. Like, ever. Not even business, like, ever.
Yeah, no, the one thing that he's supposed to be good at, he's not good at. Disgusting. And remember, y'all elected him president, people. All you people out there who voted for him. That's what you wanted. Exactly what you wanted. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure some of those people are happy.
Well, yeah, because they're just as dumb as he is, so they don't know. You can fucking run a train up their asses, and they'd be happy, not think anything was going on.
Some people like that.
Yeah, I mean, they probably would want that. Fucking assholes. Anyway, what else did we cover? I think those were actually the only things that we talked about leading up to the whole NRA discussion with the gun violence. So we got into the fact that there was another shooting in Odessa, Texas, not too far from, and not too far from, period, the El Paso, Texas shooting and the dating shooting that has gone on. And, you know, San Francisco, their legislation has come up with the idea of banning, or I'm sorry, designated the NRA as a terrorist group. So, legislation was brought up to designate the NRA as a domestic terrorist organization. Under federal law, which, you know, it states that. Let me find the place in the article again where she broke this down for people. Federal Justice Department's definition of terrorist activity, which involves the use of a firearm, weapon, or dangerous device to endanger the safety of individuals. The definition also includes members of organizations that provide funds, weapons, or training to individuals who commit terrorist acts. So, because of that, which again, like I said before, kind of seems like loose, but is fitting because the NRA does fund people. They do provide weapons for people. They do provide training for people, and some of these people are card carried NRA members or licensed gun owners who went nuts, and killed a lot of people in an act of terror. So, the NRA, of course, is not happy. They don't feel like this is legit. They pretty much think this is just a publicity stunt.
I mean, they're liars in general. But I was not familiar with the story when you brought it up. Still now, I was a little queasy about it. I'm not saying the argument is not there as it's been laid out. It just feels like one of those things where, like, because it's being applied to such an asshole of an organization, it seems like obviously good. But it just feels like one of those things that could be taken and turned against something more benign later on.
Yeah, because and we've seen this precedent happen before, where right wingers have taken certain things and used it against more liberal organizations, and pretty much broken them because of it. So, yeah, they can find a way to fuck with them, definitely.
That's the thing I'd keep my eye out for. But I'm at the very least intrigued by the idea of designating them a terrorist group. I do think they have reckless disregard for human lives and safety. I do think they push their gun agenda to the detriment of the entire country and our society, but still makes me a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, because
certainly not out of
because one of their defenses was like video games, mental health issues, and movies as part of the cause, and we were talking about that. That's what we were really getting into. It's like breaking down how flawed that logic is, because again, the video game studies have been proven. There's no reason to believe that video games is what caused people to want to go out and commit violent acts. Same thing with movies. For the most part, people are pretty. I would say that people are sharp enough to know that what you do in a movie, you can't do in real life. For the most part. And for those who can't, sure, you can throw out the mental health thing, but at the end of the day, that's far and few between the I'm mad at this, so I'm gonna go grab my gun and I'm gonna go murder people attitude. I mean, it's not a mental health thing. If anything, it's more of a cultural thing now that we are starting to express our anger by picking up a gun and killing people. You know, because a lot of these killers, a lot of their motivations are because they were upset at certain groups, because they didn't like, you know, get along with a certain person, what have you. You know, so, and even if you throw the mental health issue out there, like you said, it was like you were saying, if it is mental health, shouldn't you work to keep guns out of people who have mental issues? You know, keep the guns out their hands.
It is odd to me that that's such a popular talking point as a because you compare us to other nations. What they hate is the idea that we compare us to other nations based on how many guns we have compared to our citizenry. And they'll say like, no, it's a mental health issue, it's a cultural issue, blah blah blah. What does that? Even if we acknowledge, even if we accept that that's true, what does that gain you? Because that's just a different reason to take guns away from these people. Either it's because they're crazy or because there's too much of them. Like that, it's a non sequitur. Essentially, it doesn't gain you anything in your argument here. It's just a different angle to make the same point.
Yeah, no. Again, the common denominator, as you know, they said in this argument, was that when compared to other countries, these countries don't have the guns. There are assault rifles just running rampant everywhere. Um, the laws don't allow it.
I do think it is probably true that there is something culturally unique about us and our relationship to guns as enshrined in the amendments. I do think maybe there is a mental health issue here because, well, I mean, let's face it, things in America can be pretty rough. If you have to deal with things like paying for medical bills or employment in this country, like there's a lot of, at the very least, economic issues that can cause a lot of strife in this country.
Yeah.
So I'm sure some of that stuff exists as a factor, but it's not really. I don't really see the point in making that argument. It doesn't really do anything. It might be true on some level, but I don't know. I don't know what it gets you to even acknowledge it.
Nothing, because the way that the gun laws are and everything, even if we addressed all the mental health issues, there's still a chance that these guns are going to get in the wrong people's hands because, I mean, again, somebody getting upset and reacting by going and shooting up a bunch of people, that's not necessarily a mental health issue. That's, I mean, we all have had moments where we have gotten so angry where we do things that aren't normal to what we normally do. I think for most of us, the difference is that we don't have a gun to do that with. Thank God.
Lack the ability to really escalate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But tell me if I'm being unfair here, but it seems like the type of people who make these mental health arguments, to me, are the same people who would not support spending money on mental health.
No.
So
they'd be the first to say that no, fuck you, you're crazy. I don't want to be bothered with you.
fix your own problems.
Right.
I mean, the same people that don't really care too much for the idea of having like a public healthcare option, and even if they were, they probably wouldn't count mental health as part of that. So
Exactly. They sent us dissected from the health issue.
right. So like when the NRA was like, "Oh, we're trying to be part of the solution," blah blah blah. Like, when? Stop bringing up mental health. Like, how much money have you like dedicated towards that sort of ever?
Right. You need to get some mental health, like, you know, immediately for your employees. Figure out what the fuck is wrong with them. Why they're so gung ho about spreading this fanatical gun agenda that you got, other than money, because it can't be just like you're that fucking greedy. And then again, it could be. You know, some people don't have conscience.
I want to see the people who say this should really push for mental health reforms in general, because these are the same people that do not want to do that fucking work. They don't really believe it. That's just a talking point to point the attention away from guns in general. I don't know. It's very disingenuous to me. Maybe I'm being unfair in making those the same group, but I feel like those types of people are being dishonest there when they bring that up.
Yeah, definitely. It's they don't really give a damn. A is proven they don't care. They just want to push their numbers, and yeah, that's the way it goes. So what else did we miss in our news cycle? By the way, I had a very deep, meaningful apology for missing last week. And I'll keep it brief this time. It's just that there's a lot is going on.
Sorry, I fucked up the deep meaningfulness. Can we edit that part out? Can we try again? Take two. Can we start it over?
No, if we're actually recording, whatever happens, happens. God damn it, no, because the beauty is that since we record these off of Hangouts now, I can edit the video anyway. So if I really feel like it, but no, just to show how much of a jerk you are, I will leave this in. But yeah, there's been a lot going on, so we're playing catch up. We're not really caught up on all the news. Of course, there hasn't been a lot of demonstrative things happening lately, which is kind of weird. Usually there's something really huge besides the shooting, I should say. Which sad, because as I was thinking, I was like, damn, that shooting that happened. And this shows you how much this is starting to normalize in our society. Whereas I say nothing big happened in the news, when at one point this would have been all the news would have been about for weeks. This happened this past weekend, and we're not really talking about it that much, honestly, as a conversation.
I think on take one of the recording, I admitted that I had been seeing some headlines about it, but I was a bit preoccupied with preparing for the hurricane. For those of you guys who don't know, I do live in Florida, and it looked like it was going to be a problem for a while for us. Send some money to the Bahamas if you got it. But I do remember seeing some headlines, and it would just kind of bleed into the previous, most recent shootings. And I remember thinking, because at the time I didn't know that it was like a different shooting. So when I saw that, I thought, why are we just getting headlines out of El Paso or whatever the most recent one would have been? For me, they bleed together. It's hard to keep them apart because for each one you'll have like, oh, this kid got hit here, this woman got hit here, this kid doesn't have parents anymore, stuff like that. So each one of the shootings tends to spawn like, say, 5-10 headlines. They kind of happen in rapid succession right now. It's just kind of hard to keep them separate in your head and give each one the proper respect that it deserves. But even to that point, it happened to come up when I went to lunch today with a couple of coworkers, and we were talking about gun stuff a little bit, and one of them was like, it was kind of a depressing statement, but he said something like, after Sandy Hook, I just kind of accepted that we weren't going to do anything about it. And I can't remember who this quote comes from. I'm not going to try to quote it verbatim, but it was essentially something like, when we accepted, the children dying in Sandy Hook and didn't essentially pass legal reform about it, when we really didn't deal with the problem after Sandy Hook, that was essentially us as a country just accepting that this was going to happen. Like that was the moment for us to fucking come together and do something about it, and we failed. And since then, we're just gonna keep on failing, because at some point, like when that happened and that was big news, and we failed to deal with it then, it was pretty much done. And I think that's what you're seeing here, because these just feel so commonplace now. Like I don't want to say there's less political will. I think in some ways there might be more, but it feels hard for any one particular shooting to like galvanize the country anymore, because they're just kind of common.
Yeah, like it's funny because reading the article about the San Francisco thing, they also claimed the lady who came up with the idea to ban them said that the inspiration was from a July 30th shooting in California, not too far from there, at a garlic festival. Do you remember that?
Nope.
Exactly. I totally forgot about that. It was like, wait, what? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh shit. 3 people got murdered in a mass shooting at a garlic festival this summer. It happens so much that, it's literally becoming what we used to go through here in DC, and still kind of go through. But I remember back growing up in the late 80s, early 90s when the whole big drug shit was going crazy. And DC had became the murder capital of the country because people were like going crazy in their drug wars in the streets. You got normalized by hearing like the first thing in the news about like 4 or 5 people getting shot and violently in the streets and killed. It was like so much so that we used to kind of make the joke that very morbid joke, but the joke was like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the news is always going to be about who got killed, and then they'll get to the real news, because that was just the pattern. It was just like, this person's murdered over at 16th Street. This person was murdered over Florida Avenue. This person was like murdered on Georgia Avenue. It's like, okay, So now what's happening? Because it became commonplace, and now these mass shootings are kind of becoming commonplace to where they're starting to run into each other. They don't hold as much of a specter anymore, and it's damn shame.
Kind of a double-edged sword as far as dealing with it, because the more common they are, I think the more people will notice that there is a problem. But sometimes it is helpful to have just like one standout moment that causes a lot of action. 9/11 was like a big moment. It caused a lot of reform. Like a lot of that shit you see in airports didn't happen before. Not saying that shit was good ideas, good things to implement, but it did rouse us to action on some level in a way that I don't think a lot of these more recent shootings will.
No.
I felt bad for butchering that quote before, so I went and found it. It was from a Mr. Dan Hodges. In retrospect, Sandy Hook marked the end of the U.S. gun control debate. Once America decided killing children was bearable, it was over.
And again, that's a very true statement when you think about it, because you would have thought Columbine would have been the line when it happened. Because Columbine was the worst thing we'd ever heard of in our lives at that point, And just to as what he was saying, like, we move forward to something like Sandy Hook, which probably should have been the line again. Like, it wasn't even that it was like high school kids. Like, hate to not trying to kind of like say that they don't equate or they're not just as bad, but it was one thing to see the Parkland kids thing. Those were like little fucking elementary kids. Those are babies. Like, it wasn't like, near adults. It wasn't adults. Those are babies who had little to no understanding of life as it is. And, like, to be put in that situation, like, what the fuck? And, like, we saw that. And through all the horror of that moment, things have gotten worse, if anything. Again, like I was saying, like right around the time when the Odessa thing was happening, Texas had passed the law where you can be concealed carry in churches and schools now, if you have a gun license. So you're letting people who are buying these guns be able to walk freely through your kid's school, in your church, with your family.
To the point, like my friend had brought up his stance that like after we didn't do anything about Sandy Hook, he just accepted that we were never going to do anything about it. At first, first time hearing it, I was like a little iffy about it, but then it reminded me of the quote, and I was like, yeah, he's kind of correct. Like I don't want to say we missed our chance to do anything about it. I think you could always turn something around. I think there are definitely politicians and activists who are invested in turning that shit around, but I mean, it is the point is that we had this huge galvanizing moment, and we did not capitalize on it. And now, ever since those kind of moments, it just felt like the gun control debate has just been a bunch of posturing leading to nothing, one way or the other.
Yeah. No, it is ridiculous. I mean, again, in contrast, mass shooting happens in New Zealand. New Zealand is fucking shocked and horrified because they've never seen some shit like that before. What do? Fuck all your guns. Fuck that shit. End of story. We're not letting this shit happen again.
I remember when that came up and we talked about it. I was a little iffy on how reactionary it might be, but I still respected the fact that they actually acted on fucking something. Like, it was refreshing to see somebody go through an act, some kind of event, and then actually fucking do something about it. Whatever little criticisms I had aside, we here just don't act on a lot of things.
Yeah. Now.
Stand still and watch things keep going on and on. So.
It'll only happen when it affects a group that feels like it should be loud enough to do so. It kind of reminds me, we're gonna go down a dark path here, people. Sorry, I apologize in advance, but this reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend of mine's about the drug situation. You know how Trump has made this whole opioid thing such a big deal, right? And it just reminded me of just how, like, when it only affects certain communities, and let's be honest, the opioid thing is mainly affecting middle class and up above white America, for the most part. So they're talking about how they need to combat this. Mind you, they're not really combating it, because the funny hook on this is that medical companies, which a lot of people have money exchanging hands in, are the ones providing legally opioids to these areas, and people are getting addicted to it. So it's kind of a half-hearted argument, but at the same time, they made it such a big point that there's this big drug epidemic to where we've had all these TV features and things like that, and all these politicians just screaming to the top of the lungs about it. But it goes back to the whole thing that happened in the 80s where, yeah, cocaine came in this country like crazy, and it was the drug of choice for the rich. But the violence wasn't really touching the rich or anything like too sketchy, so it wasn't, it was kind of okay until the violence started to touch the rich, until you started to get prominent names mixed up in this and all that. And it was like, oh no, we got to do something about cocaine. And this is when they started going after all these like big cartels and stuff like that. In turn, crack, which generally was a urban or low poverty area drug of choice, it spread like wildfire, and there was really nothing done to kind of like slow the flow of it, because it didn't affect certain people. It only affected a certain group that they didn't really give a damn about. And that's why I think this gun thing is not going to come to head until it hits someone who right now isn't conscious of it or doesn't care. That's the sad part about it. We have a lot of people out here who care enough to want to have this change and who are trying to have it changed. But the people who can truly change it, they don't want to change it. Mitch McConnell fucking has blocked so many attempts to change gun regulation. But let his wife get shot. God forbid that happens. But let his wife get shot in one of these things. Guarantee you, Mitch McConnell's going to change his tune. Because it affects him now. And that's the sad reality of it. Yeah.
He's a huge part of the problem. Just him. Because there are bills that go up there that he just boots on and then walks away.
Yeah, he just like, we're not even going to discuss this, and just keeps
First
going.
of all, I need to finish sucking President Trump's dick before we can even begin to talk about this.
Right. Like, the shit makes no sense, but that's generally what happens. It has to be like some tectonic shift in the world of people who haven't been affected yet for it to really be effective. And, that may change. We do have an opportunity to change leadership with the elections. So maybe we'll get the right people in there who will push for that change and make it something that can happen within our lifetimes. Because it's just ridiculous. It's just dumb. No, we won't be doing that. You need to go worry about finding your spot on your wall for Mr. Fancy Pants art, man. Yeah. I feel like now that's going to be the podcast backdrop. It'll be like, look at this bitch.
It's gonna like shift around the entire room. Like having a regular.
Right, that'll be your display.
No big deal. It's just one of the original pencils from the Batman run.
Right. As he eats his caviar and sips his champagne.
Eat my fucking crackers and use their little money after that.
So no caviar, just the crackers. Gotcha.
So my birthday's coming up on Saturday. Like we went out to lunch and somebody like paid for my lunch. I just remember thinking like I didn't want them to do that, but after just dropping like about $2,000 on a drawing, I'm like, all right, maybe this is the one time I'll let the prize fly.
Yep, like thank you for taking this bill. Wait.
If I had to drop another $15 today, I was gonna lose my.
You'll be fine. It's okay. And who knows? Maybe one day you want to flip it when it'll be worth way more than that.
Yeah, when all my bad decisions finally catch up to me, I need to make the money back.
There you go. You have your safety net. Bam. That's
Give me
good.
a week of sucking dick for money.
I don't think it's gonna be that bad, sir. I don't think it's gonna be that.
I've been accused of being pessimistic.
Oh man. So what else has happened?
I didn't get up to this when you were talking about.
Wait. And I just got a weird sound on my thing. Okay, YouTube, why are you doing that? Interesting. So you guys just heard a washing machine go off in the background. Interesting. YouTube. Oh, and if you want to know why you hear washing machines, because I use that as a sleep therapy thing. May sound weird, huh?
Does it work? Does it affect?
Yeah, no, I used to always listen. When I was a little kid, one of the things I would do was when my mom was doing laundry, or my aunt was doing laundry, whatever, was I would go into the laundry room, I would get a blanket, and I would curl up in front of the washing machine, and I would fall asleep. Because I find the sound of washing machine, and it has to be a mechanical washing machine. Can't be any of these newfangled electric things that barely make noise and shit like that. Don't have the like that sound. It has to be like an original, like old Whirlpool washer. Like, nah, that Samsung smart shit ain't gonna work. That shit just sounds weird to me. It's awful. Yeah, no, I mean, seriously, listen. Seriously, if you get a chance, look up a video of one of the older washing machines, like anything before, I would say, the 2000s, probably like, I'd say before 1990, in fact. You want the real old, like, fucking, gotta lift up the lid and measure in your shit, the washers. Again, not the laundromat washers, not your home things where you can set timers and all that shit. No, fuck that. You want the old thing. You gotta crank the thing to go to the time that you want, or to the setting that you want. And push the big button. And it clunks when you push it, and then like hear the like water fill up. Yeah, all that. That shit is amazing.
I forgot. It's like a 36-minute video of just like a full cycle.
Yeah, because people use it. It's now become what they call ASMR, which, okay.
But there's nothing in the description or the comments that make me think that. It just feels like people are jerking off to a washing machine.
No, I'll do you one better. This is the one that I use, and it's actually pretty awesome. Because yes, I do wake up to the sound too.
Shit goes for 9 hours.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right, fall asleep.
I sleep, and it's funny. I kind of need to stop using it because I found myself now. If I wake up, if I don't force myself to get up and I just listen to the sound for a while, I will fall right back to sleep. So it does its job. It does its job, definitely.
I admit it, it's actually not that bad.
Huh?
I admit I do find it mildly relaxing. I still think you guys are a bunch of washing machine folks.
It's not bad. It's really good. It is really, really good. By the way, football has officially started, people. Woohoo!
Hooray.
Sports ball. Yeah, sports ball. Funny, too, because in the other video I was going over my fantasy football stuff because, I have to, get ready and win the league. All that stuff.
By killing everyone else.
Yes. Yes.
If I ever have kids, that's what I'm going to teach them. It's not about being better than everybody else. It's about making sure everyone else doesn't exist. Yeah, shit. Maybe I'm the parent that raises the fucking shit. Anyway.
Yeah, because that didn't sound too friendly, sir. So, yeah.
For you guys who haven't seen Dave Chappelle's new Sticks and Stones special, he does have like a bit where he talks about, the drills they do in schools for school shootings. And one of his points was like, I mean, isn't the shooter learning the drill with everybody else? And he was like, the weird thing about being a parent is that you all know that one of you is racing the shooter. And I just realized, like, I guess it's fucking me. I'm the target of this fucking joke.
Aw, this cardiac's gonna raise a little threat to society. That's
But
not
random
good.
plug there. David Chappelle, Sticks and Stones on Netflix. He should kick back a little money if he wasn't an asshole, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, here's good. Here's very good. Of course, it's controversial because, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. God, y'all couldn't live through the comics from back in the day. Jesus Christ. If you think what David Chappelle is doing now is bad, holy shit. George Carlin. People always say this, and it's true. Just go listen to some old George Carlin. God rest his soul. That man, very, very clever. It could be as offensive as possible, but it had a point to it. It made you think. And I think that's what people were probably missing with the David Chappelle stuff, is that it's not necessarily to offend you or just to shock you, but just to make you actually think. People don't seem to get that.
Headlines where it's like, oh, he's trying to offend. He's trying to, is he? It just feels like he's not avoiding offending you. It doesn't feel like he's intentionally trying to offend you.
Right.
That'd be a weird goal I would think the goal of a comedian is to make you laugh.
Yeah.
Not try to offend you. There's nothing to gain from doing that. So.
No. Not at all.
You guys are killing comedy, man.
Yeah, people. They'll get over it. They'll get over it. Well, yeah, there's a level of sensitivity. We talk about it all the time. That's part of my argument with the goddamn Netflix thing. Going to episodic stuff for some of their shows. People talking about, I just want it. It's like, okay, you don't really want it. You know that you can get it. That's why you want it. But if it didn't exist before, you wouldn't care. It's not one of those things where, I just discovered, I could have been, saving time if I would have bought a microwave years ago type thing when it comes to cooking. It's not like it's that, you know. Even the microwave, not even that. I'm trying to think of something essential. It's like the outhouse versus the indoor plumbing. Yeah, I want indoor plumbing. That is something that is a modern convenience that is very, very beneficial. It's healthier, it's cleaner, less dangerous. Yeah, I want inside plumbing. I want electricity. And yeah, to a degree, I would want some binge stuff, but not at the same time. You don't have to put the shit out on the first day for me.
I think if it's there, it's fine. But I think to your point, and I'm much the same way. I don't tend to pick up a series immediately when it first starts airing anyway. So by the time I pick it up, I can binge it because it's been out and been shitting out episodes for a while. I cannot think of the last series I actually picked up close to its debut outside of The Boys because somebody else made me watch that last week. But
Hell, I still haven't watched The Boys. You know how? And you said you just watched it last week. You know that thing's been out for over a month, right?
I know.
Yeah, it's been out for a minute. But that's my point. Even when you can binge these things, you don't necessarily always do it on the first day. Like, unless you're one of those assholes who want to be out there spoiling shit. That's the only reason.
I do think that's one benefit to not having everything bingeable is that it makes it harder to spoil that shit because it's coming in increments and you can catch up. Because I've definitely seen like just different series that just drop their entire season and then people are talking about it fucking immediately before
Right.
you get them.
It's annoying.
I mean, there are positives to doing it. My personal positive is that it gives me like, you know, maybe I'm in a bad mood or something that week or something's going on. It's like a little thing to spread out throughout the week to just kind of look forward to.
You know, and I thought about this too, and it's not necessarily true, but I feel like it kind of affects the arguments, at least in my mind. The person I was having this conversation with is a content creator. And I've realized in the culture where anybody can be a content creator, not just people who are dedicated to content creating like he is, but just like to a certain degree, we are kind of like a culture that's enslaved to creating content, be it Instagram posts, you know, Periscope, Snapchat, all of that. So being able to get out there and talk about something first and put yourself out there is essential to a lot of people. I think that's part of the drive of the being upset. Like for me, like again, it's not that they're saying I can't binge it. They're just saying that some stuff I gotta wait until it's complete to binge, which is fine because I was going to wait to binge it anyway. You know, or if it's something that I really, really like, and I'm going to watch it episodic anyway. I did that with Game of Thrones. I watched that episodic. It wasn't like I waited. Or with Euphoria. You know, I was willing to wait the week until the next one, but I was fine with that, and I was fine. I got my immediate gratification when it came out. And like you were saying to me the other day, the anticipation of the conversation also helps. And like to know that there's something coming later on. Like you get to watch it, then you guys talk about it for the week and speculate on what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh shit, it's Monday. Time for whatever my show is. It's something to look forward to.
He and I watch, I think it's like 3 or 4 anime at a time, just like following them up, you know, in current time. Like every, I'd say a week or 2, we have like a phone call where we're just like talking shit about the anime. Like, are you caught up with the last episode? Did you see this shit? Where do you think, you know, this dude's gonna fucking die? Is this one the bad guy? Like, you know, it's a fun little conversation piece to like be able to talk about where things are going week by week. If you and that strict asshole read more comics, we could do that with Batman too. But you know, some people are assholes. Whatever.
Whatever. Fuck it. Do you really want me to read Tom King? I'm no. Like I'm still reading Hush, and it's like when you see him crush Batman, in that too. Like yo, he has an affinity to fuck Batman up, doesn't he? He didn't write Hush? Okay, I thought he wrote Hush. It seemed like an asshole. Well, then people have an affinity to fuck up Batman. Like the one superhero that you can actually like truly hurt, and they just like take their comeuppance out on him. Like Jesus Christ, bruh.
No, that one was Jeff Loeb.
Okay, that asshole.
I mean, you are correct. Like, you look through all the stories, Killing Joke, Death in the Family, Court of Owls, this current run, Nightfall, Dark Knight Returns. Like, they're all pretty
abusive. Yes, abusive. You are abusive.
Like, none of these stories are like, and then he was happily ever after.
Yeah, because it's just like, he survived. That's basically it.
Dude, like, none of them even end on a positive note. Like, not a one. Like, they're all... Like, most of the times, there's a conflict, and then there's a happy resolution. With him, there's a conflict, and then there's a conflict and a conflict.
I'm just happy to be alive for exactly. That's why he's batshit insane. And can't like keep relationships because like, do you really want to be a part of this life? Because, yo, shit I go through.
Oh shit!
What did you?
Some more pieces.
Oh my god! You know what piece you're gonna end up buying though once it get post, right?
This was cheap. I can.
No, but you know which one you're gonna get regardless, as long as you have the money. It's gonna have to do with the Batman Catwoman wedding run. You're gonna find that one piece that's gonna come for that, and you're gonna be like, "Yo, it's just $2,500, but." But I really, really like it.
I mean, but are you wrong?
So, yeah, it's all good. As I said, yeah, you need to like switch that off now because you're about to. Although it would be see, I'm not helping. I'm actually being an enabler. Would it be cool to be able to set up your like office with all of like different pieces around? That would be kind of hot.
I'm not gonna drop that much money. But this one is like, I think because I already spent like $2,000. Like this one is just a couple, so it doesn't bug me.
Like, see, when we balling out here, we like what? I just spent $2,000. A couple of hundred ain't nothing. Like that's $2. Get the
like, so to give you guys some background, I've been watching this dude's art page for like the past few months, like, agonizing over buying because there's a couple pieces that are going for like $300 or so, and I've been agonizing over buying those pieces for months, and then all of a sudden I lost my shit this morning and dropped like way more than that. So
damn shame.
I'm not saying
this is your crack though. I mean, hey, everybody has their thing. I have my Funko Pops. Although my Funko Pop's only $8 to $10 a pop, so there's that. I can, yeah, please. You need to get him in the office so he could be like Trump and use it to capitalize to cultivate his art collection. Like put him in political power so he can abuse the system and collect all the fucking art.
Anyway, sorry.
Call your mom. That'll stop you.
She'd be proud of me.
She'd be like, "Boy, you did what to who now?" I know I raised you better, and then you be feeling guilty.
Anyway.
So I promise you guys, next episode he's gonna have like 5 more drawings, and he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I didn't think that those boxes would be so big."
I think the thing that's getting me now is just the fact that I'm like, but if I don't buy it, some other asshole will be happy.
Damn shame.
But I don't remember the last thing we were talking about.
I think we were gonna transition from the Netflix thing. into the climate change town halls that were held. Yo, those things went on till like about 1, because Cory Booker didn't come up till like 11:30, 12 o'clock, which is ridiculous. Like, one, for Cory Booker, I'm kind of mad, because that's like, so is this how much y'all think of my candidacy? All right, I bet, I feel you, You know, it got me over here like fucking coming on when Jimmy Fallon on. Ain't nobody watching me. They go. I got you though, and it's a Wednesday, middle of the week. The fucker stand up to see his ass. Like, nobody wants to see the Joker on the TV. It's like fucking looking evil. But so 10 key takeaways from this thing, which neither one of us watched. Although, like I said, I turned on because I realized it was on and it was Joe Biden's time. And then he went on to like when President Obama was, and then I was like, all right, let me turn this off. I'll just read about it later, because I don't want to hear about like when my best friend said this from Joe. Like, that's, oh my god, why is that the crux of his campaign? It's like some of these like people's campaign platform is just so Bernie with the fucking let's go tear down Wall Street, and him with the my best friend said. Like, these are the two old men that we're going to have to pick between, people. Think about that.
Maybe I'll feel differently after the next round, but I've been shocked about how long they've been managing to stay at the top. Like, I knew they'd be hard to dislodge, but...
Well, no, it's a very cultish ilk with Bernie, for one. So that makes sense. Because I had a conversation with somebody, and they were kind of upset when I told them that Bernie's not good enough to be president. They looked like they wanted to fucking, like, slap the shit out of me. Like, it's that serious with the Bernie love. Like, you can't tell nobody nothing about him that's wrong. Even though I was able to break it down and actually make him concede that, yeah, you kind of got a point there about some of the stuff. To which I was then confronted with, that's why the perfect ticket would be Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. Which I was just exasperated at that point, and I don't think I could go any further. Because, again, I get why people say that, though, because, as I was saying to them, Bernie has some good ideas. He just don't have no execution or real, like, purpose to his policy. And then Elizabeth Warren has it all. So she can be the brains, and he can be, I guess, the beauty. Yeah.
He can be the microphone.
Yeah, basically, she's his Metatron.
I do remember you mentioning this conversation in passing a while back, and I remember thinking, I don't agree that that's a good pairing. I think they are similar enough, and for the people that like them, it might look good, but I think to win the general, I don't know, maybe I'm pessimistic, but I feel like people are underestimating how scary Bernie in particular, but Elizabeth too, looks to people. Because, I mean, like I've said, I have a friend who, her family is Venezuelan, you know, she dealt with socialism and all that shit. And even just Bernie in general kind of terrifies her because of what their family was dealing with. Not that I'm saying Bernie is necessarily like that, but
yeah,
it is good. And even me, I'm a liberal person, but some of the things Bernie does and says do concern me a little bit. I think they're so focused on demonizing rich people that they aren't realizing that that doesn't really resonate as well as they think it does with most Americans. Because the problem is not that some people are really, really fucking rich, it's that a lot of people can't get by.
Yeah, and
it doesn't matter how much they have over there.
That was the argument I was making in this conversation. Like, it's not the people, it's not Wall Street, it's the policies and the way that the people are, you know, writing these laws to let certain people get away with things. 9 times out of 10, let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, if we can do it ourselves, we would take advantage of that shit too. Let's not be naive and think. I mean, some of us have a moral capacity to be like, nah, I'm good, whatever. I'll do it the right way or whatever. But a lot of us will, if we can get the easy way around things, we take that shit too. So it's not that they're necessarily doing anything differently than what most people would do. It's that they are able to do it because they're enabled by certain factors. Like, yeah, he can yell and scream and pump his fist at Wall Street all that matters. But if that Congress don't fucking want to, like, you know, pass whatever bills or anything like that, you're just gonna you're gonna literally be the old man shaking fists at the clouds that you look like already. And that's the thing. It's like, where's your plan of execution to get people to jump on board with it? You don't really have one. You just know that you want to get rid of Wall Street, and people like that idea because vilifying people with money is always the best thing to rally those without it. It's the best medicine possible for anybody who wants support for their cause.
I think they only like it so far. I mean, I think there is a point of diminishing returns because, I mean, like I said, if I was a, you know, I guess I'm more financially stable than a lot of other people, but if you know, if you're struggling financially and you're able to like support yourself and your family and all that shit, it doesn't really matter if Joe Smo over there makes $20 million a year. Like, it's not that important. As long as you're comfortable and you have, you know, whatever it is you need to have within reason. They can make literally infinity money and it wouldn't fucking matter. Because what he's doing that I think is so problematic is he's kind of perpetuating this idea that wealth in this country is just like this static piece of pie that needs to be divided up a certain way. And that's not really how the economy will work. We have more wealth now than we past because it's not static. So it's not like there's a finite resource of money or something.
No,
it has to be split that way.
I hate to say it this way, but it's the Fidel Castro philosophy of waging a revolution. Yeah, we go into this under the purpose, you know, we got Che Guevara who actually believes for real, but we go into this like Castro, like pumping our fists down with the powers that be, and then when you get to there, it's like, okay, are you going to actually tear this down, or are you just going to become the power that be? You know, which to the point, Bernie is not a poor man. He is someone who's made money, and has made a wealth. So he's not averse to the idea of having money. But this whole vilifying of like the rich, it makes no sense because we know that not all rich people are fucked up. Yes, there's a lot of people on Wall Street who are fucked up. Mind you, just saying going after Wall Street is such a blanket statement because you're going after this entire entity that you have dubbed as the villain when say he does topple Wall Street. What happens to people's 401ks and other investment plans that are tied to Wall Street? You're not just fucking destroying. That's the thing. It's like you're saying this as a blanket statement, and people are falling for the shit. It's like, so what does that mean for investments? Is he trying to tear down the structure of like investments? Because again, I don't think it's necessarily that system that's necessarily the problem, but it's how it's operated and the policies and regulations towards it. So I don't know why you want us to go tear down Wall Street. You know, you keep talking about going after all these companies. Sure, a lot of these companies have way too much influence and are given way too much slack. So why don't we curtail their influence and impose fair regulations on them as well as everybody across the board, instead of trying to run them out of business, which means that you're going to lose millions of jobs, which means that you're going to have skilled labor or unskilled labor out there looking for jobs because you tore down the mighty oil company. You know, it's stuff like that. Like, yes, I do understand that oil shouldn't have as big of an impact on our nation's economic or ecological system. but there are ways to do it without fucking everybody else's lives up, just by knocking them off the face of existence. Like, that's not how it goes. And I think that's one thing that I don't understand how Bernie supporters can't get, is that yes, this sounds very, very, very romantic, like a great movie, but reality don't work that way. And I don't think they're ready for the reality of what a Bernie presidency would be.
I think part of the problem is that because he lost to Hillary last time, there was nothing to them that disproved the idea that he could have beat Trump. And maybe he
except for facts, but sure.
I mean, they didn't get to see. It's like if you think of like two fighters going to the ring against each other, unless they actually fight, you can always say you don't really know what would have happened.
But the thing is, he did fight Hillary, and he lost that fight. I know people like to say, this is something I had to clear up again. People like to say, well, the DNC was just always going to give it to Hillary. It wasn't a question of just giving it to Hillary. Numbers clearly supported that across the board, state to state, with few exceptions, Bernie did not have the votes. He did not have the public support in droves. You can point to a few factors, like I was pointing out. Moderates, of course, are going to shy away from him because of some of his radical ideas. So yes, moderates would probably prefer Hillary over him. There's some people who are liberal who may not care for him, who will support him. No matter what it is, though, he lost. Yes, Hillary did flex her influence on the DNC and all of that, and that came back to haunt her and stuff like that. But if you want to go primary to primary, Bernie got his ass kicked by the votes. So it wasn't like he was the chosen one like his fans think he was.
That's what I'm pointing to, is that his fans, I feel like, maybe not explicitly, but they used the fact that Hillary lost to Trump that last time. It's like some kind of vindication that because they didn't get to watch Bernie get kicked in on the general election stage, I think they still kind of overestimate how popular he is. Because, I mean, to your point, he wasn't that popular. But I feel like they never really understood that because they're already so fervently behind him. And he does, he's up there in the polls right now among those people. He is reasonably popular. Just culturally, he's more and more popular because he's just kind of an entertaining kind of look at and listen to him.
And he ingratiates himself with entertaining people like Cardi B and Killer Mike because he's pandering. But y'all don't want to say that. But it's fine. It's fine.
But you're right. But I think not getting to see the proper knockout in the ring is leaving them with much more confidence than they should have, because he is not the one.
Yeah, it's that old sports axiom. Like, people always say, like, yo, had such and such didn't lose in the semifinals, they would have beat the shit out of the champion. Well, they couldn't beat the people who the champion beat the shit out of. So what makes you really think that if they would have gotten the opportunity to go against the champ, that it wouldn't have been the same? It's that the whole thing. We talk about it all the time in sports about how if this matchup happened to this matchup, it's like the fact of the matter is that matchup didn't happen. Before you can get to the point where you can win it all, you got the wrong matchup and you got your teeth kicked in. So you don't know whether or not you were good enough to beat that person because you lost to somebody who beat that person. So there's a fair enough argument to say that you would have ended up in the same position. In fact, I think Bernie would have been worse because, again, the moderate thing there would have been a lot of very right-leaning moderates who would have been like, no, never in a million. The John Delaney's of the world? Oh, hell no. They weren't going to have that.
And that's what I'm pointing to. Like, his fans, he's definitely popular amongst them. But I think they really underestimate how much a large portion of this country do not want this motherfucker. So, no offense to your friend's dream team, but I think that's a mistake. Like, if Elizabeth wins, he's the last motherfucker she should pick.
Now, more importantly, picking someone who's just as much as a threat as you are is the most asinine thing to do as a president. It's have we not learned from the whole John McCain thing, where you pick somebody who becomes bigger than you are because of their philosophy? Now,
Look, man, President Palin was trying to hurt.
she was. You don't want somebody who could end up capturing the scope. Like, you want that Joe Biden, which, sorry, Joe Biden fans, he's that good intermediate guy. You know, he's that moderate enough guy who has enough liberal charm to kind of weave back and forth between the, like, you know, weeds and help you negotiate on the low things. At the same time, you know that he's clearly not a threat to beat you or to outshine you in any capacity. So, fine. Go ahead and glad hand with your friends so we can build points towards my agenda. Outside of that, like, I think that's what you want. But I would say that Biden being vice president was an example of, like, a dynamic that people never exploited before. And I think it's something they should more often, is that not just necessarily get somebody who's lesser than you, who can't be a threat to you, but somebody who can be very, very useful as well. Because few vice presidents have been useful when you look at the history. Like, I cannot think of many vice presidents where I said, yo, the work that they did was, you know, noticeable. You know?
You say that loud, it feels like such a low bar.
But no, it's like, seriously, like, no disrespect to Al Gore, but we love Al Gore more once he wasn't vice president and was able to go on his own and start, like, his whole climate change campaign. But as a vice president, what the fuck we care about Al Gore? Nobody cared about Al Gore. Al Gore didn't have a voice.
You're right.
You know, shit, George Bush Sr., he was a pretty nonplus vice president. Now, he was one of the few that was lucky enough to transition to the presidency. And even that was a rarity. Yeah.
Who should I pick for my VP?
Don't pick me, because I will try to usurp you.
At least you're honest.
Get Eurostrix. He's kind of like nonplus. He's not a threat to anybody. Yeah. So applications for Cardiac's VP are now open.
Where your resume at, dog?
So yeah, please submit it to him. But yeah, so some of the points that were brought up in this whole climate thing that went on forever. Julian Castro said that new civil rights legislation to address environmental racism, minority communities facing the brunt of the climate crisis, is part of his plan to combat global warming. I know that too often times it's people that are poor, communities of color, who take the brunt of storms that are getting more frequent and more powerful, he said. Thoughts?
Before you, I was going to say before you hop off that one. This point that, these types of communities are affected more by natural disasters is true. It feels a little bit like pandering to me. Like, I might be too cynical because it feels like...
Slightly cynical, but yes, it is pandering.
Because like when it first started coming up, I was like, that is a really good insight, because at least when I was growing up, we definitely talked about climate change issues, but we never really put it through that scope. So it was refreshing to have that kind of focus on this aspect of the climate change issue. But some people, and maybe Castro isn't one of them, but sometimes I feel like they push it so far in that direction because they just kind of know the more liberal people are very concerned about race in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
To the point where it almost feels like it's slightly veering away from being about environmental at all.
But I mean, he definitely does have a point, because we've just went through this in the DC area, and I can tell from history. I can tell you from personal history. Yes, it's true, because the way that the city of DC has been shaped, the Anacostia River. They just went through this big deal to restore the Anacostia River. One of the things that is key of note of the Anacostia River is that the majority of it with it that runs through the city lies in basically one of the more low poverty, high African American population communities. Of course, now it's being gentrified, so helps that they clean it now. It's clean now, so they can gentrify it. But at the time, Anacostia River was getting dumped with a lot of shit because I used to live off Benning Road. Anybody familiar with DC would know what I'm talking about. But I used to live off Benning Road, and on Benning Road was the Potomac Electronic Company, Potomac Electronic, and I forget what the other P company, but Pepco. Their main facilities, their main factory, was located on Benning Road, and it was literally in the middle of the hood. And of course, it was there because right there at Benning Road, Anacostia River is right there. So all the waste, all the stuff, all that stuff like that, flowed into the Anacostia River, fucking that shit up. And of course, having all the like different electricity, power stuff like that. If you were to roll by that area at the time I was growing up, yeah, it was disgusting. You know, the smoke, all of that. Now they've since shut that facility down, but yeah, for decades upon decades, all that stuff was there. And if you do look at different cities like zoning for things like that, like dump sites and all that, you'll find that all the more pollutant industries tend to lie in the poorer residents. So there's a lot of truth to that statement that he said. So
Definitely true. I just
yeah. But it's a weird. But no, I understand why you feel that way, because it's so weird that this is what's being brought up now, because it's generally something that I've only heard on the local area of things, not in the national debate. So yeah, I could see why you would feel like it's kind of pandering, because it's not something that you hear addressed a lot on a national level. It's just like your community's, is doing the rally against it and stuff like that, and they're doing a local feature like they did around here. But at the end of the day, it's not like you knew about what was going on in the nation's capital as far as like the pollutants and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, I can see why you would be cynical, because it's like, why after all this time someone decides to address it like this?
I mean, I think it is good, because like I said, it is a different angle that, at least when I was growing up, was not part of the conversation. And maybe I'll just watch and see how it goes from there, because it feels like among the different kinds of issues, I'm sure there's definitely overlap between different problems, but I always look at like the environment as like a thing that is now possibly ceding maybe a little too much ground to being brought back into a base issue. But I don't know. Maybe I'll hold off my cynicism a little bit as weeks go by and we see how much more it gets talked about in that manner. But he is correct.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right. So second, Andrew Yang, your boy, said that if he's elected president, he'll eliminate gross domestic product as a measure of national success and replace it with a system that includes environmental factors. Let's upgrade it with a new scorecard that includes our environmental sustainability and our goals.
So you talked a lot about Elizabeth Warren being like the one with the idea, especially in comparison to Bernie. I don't feel like Yang gets enough credit, because I've watched him in like some longer form talks, like different interviews that go on like an hour or so. And anytime people, rightfully so, give him some bitter criticism or that, he actually has like an actual idea in mind to back his shit up. I think his point here is a good one, that anytime we talk about the economy, we always talk so much about GDP, but that doesn't really give you a good indicator of anything as far as like how American lives are going. Like, my life isn't really that determined by GDP or anything like that.
No, most people don't
Americans
understand gross, domestic product.
country having a high GDP does not guarantee that all citizens are
It's
doing
like,
well.
yay, we sell a lot of stuff.
And I can't remember the things he was getting at, but he talked about having a more comprehensive, like, to his point, scorecard that has stuff like, happiness, essentially, was one of the things I think he pointed as far as just, like, general public happiness, but you do see other countries measure in some way. In this case, having the environment be a factor. I do think it is it's a small thing that you could do, but it would be a much better indicator of where we are actually as a country, as opposed to measuring shit that doesn't really reflect most people's lives.
Yeah, no matter how quantitative your product, quote unquote, is, there's going to be way too many factors that's going to affect how well it performs. And part of that is like is happiness, do you have a job system in which the employees are motivated to do so beyond just trying to struggle to pay bills, or are they motivated because they're living like quality lives?
Matter of fact, yeah, if you go on Yank's page, you can see his page on measuring the economy, and environmental quality is one of them. Affordability, childhood success rates, underemployment, income inequality, consumer and student debt, work and civic engagement levels, volunteerism, infant mortality, quality of infrastructure, access to education, marriage and divorce rates, which I might question that one a little bit, but fair enough. Substance abuse and related deaths, national optimism, personal dynamism / economic mobility, quality of health, the quality of life and health, adjusted life expectancy, and happiness / well-being and mental health. So he has like I didn't count how many that was, but all those things are like things that would be on his.
Why do you question the marriage thing?
I'm wondering how they would measure it, because like for example, I see a lot of people point to the fact that there's like increased number of divorces, and I don't know if all those are for a bad reason, because I do think that it's more socially acceptable to get a divorce now.
True.
It has been in other points in history. That's not to say that it's not a bad sign, but it's not inherent. I don't know. I don't think it's obvious like what that statistic really means. Just
I
because it is higher,
get what he's saying though, because let's be honest, a lot of relationships today, like, doesn't matter how good of a person that you are, like, how compatible you are, financial struggle can ruin a lot of relationships. It can cause a lot of stress and strain. People always say I'm crazy, but it's like in my financial state, I don't feel comfortable being in a relationship because I don't want to like have that be an issue, because it can be an issue. Like, again, she may think I'm the best person in the world, but if I am financially unstable, hey, what's that going to do? That's going to put stress and strain on the relationship. Because we're going to be struggling to try to take care of things, possibly. Things like that. So yeah, it does, like, it is something to note. I would say that I would hope that he's not saying that it's one of the major things that you're going to want to monitor, but I think it is a part of the whole thing because it does encompass well-being.
I mean, in
overall.
fairness to him, it's one of like 15 things he listed as part of the scorecard, and I'm not opposed to measuring it and making it part of the scorecard. I just, want to have that caveat that in there that like it's not just a simple measure behind it, is that there's some more nuance to the measurement, and then I'd be fine with it.
All right.
But all the other stuff makes sense. Environmental quality, one, happiness / well-being and mental health. I think if we actually measured the country based on these things, we'd have far better, more useful indicators than GDP. But to bring it back to the original conversation, yes, I do think actually measuring how well we're doing with the environment as part of our scorecard would go a much longer way than people realize.
Yeah. No.
Every time I see people in the news bring up like, "Oh, GDP is here, Dow is here," it's not fucking useful to most people. Sorry, like, it's just not. I'm sure business students like to jerk off to those numbers, but come on, it's not what we need.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. Because again, it's not a quantitative number to the general population at all, and it's only something that's good for people's books. Like that's some accounting shit. Nobody cares about that. Like yeah, nobody cares. That's not what's going to rule a lot of people's lives. Is just knowing that the accounting numbers are looking good. Like, yeah.
It's like a report card. Like like if your GPA is low, you want, then you feel like, oh, failing class, study more here. It might direct. You might even be able to use it to direct how you spend funds in certain areas.
Yeah.
Like if we find that we're doing pretty okay over here, then maybe we direct the other shit where we're failing at. So I think it's good. I think it makes sense for the environment.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to get much further in these debates.
Yeah. But it's nice that he's throwing these ideas out so Elizabeth Warren can steal them and say they're hers.
I think he should be. I mean, to your point.
See, that wouldn't be a bad choice, though. Warren Yang.
No, it might not be because he's definitely more in the business sector.
He would fit that whole model of someone who's probably not a threat to you, but he is very useful as in his capacity because he has things that he can do very well that will benefit you.
The wall there is going to be his freedom dividend because that's going to sound like horrific levels of socialism to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he shouldn't still push for it, but just imagine if he didn't have that one, still got like a lot of his other. I think it would be a match made in heaven because even with the freedom dividend, I still don't think he's as offensive as.
Yeah.
And at the very least, he can actually defend the freedom dividend because I've seen him do it for like hour after hour. So he actually, I admit that I went in very skeptical when I heard his fucking idea. He kind of, I might say my things here and there, but he definitely turned me around. So he can actually defend his ideas much the same way Warren does with actual details and shit. So
yeah, definitely. Give him a shot. All right, so Kamala Harris said that as president, she would direct the Department of Justice to go after oil and gas companies who have directly impact global warming. They're causing harm and death in communities, and there has been no accountability. I feel like they missed out on the opportunity to talk about her like banning of beef. Well, not really banning of beef, but she made mention that she would like to put regulations on possibly the limitations of beef consumption, considering that cattle are a major cause of greenhouse effect.
And now she's canceled.
Yeah, no, because you're telling Americans that they can't have their like fucking ribeye steaks and fucking T-bone steaks and all the porterhouse steaks and the Angus beef steaks and just steak. Like you're taking steaks off the table, literally.
Maybe I need to be slapped with some numbers, but I still have a very hard time believing that cattle is such a huge factor.
Yes, it is because they spew methane gas, sir.
I mean, they do, and it is a more potent.
And because we are probably the biggest or one of the biggest distributors of beef in the country, we have to maintain a large cattle population. Therefore, they just farting up the storm and fucking. It's kind of fucked up that this is like part of what's killing us all, and it's not the smell. It's like fart itself is increasingly destroying. Well, no, but to be fair, she wasn't saying getting rid of all meat, but limiting, like, the distribution of beef. Like,
but to her larger point about going after these companies, how exactly? Because I feel like the bigger problem isn't this that these companies are assholes, but that they have not been legally stopped? Like, are they breaking laws? In which case, yeah, prosecute them, definitely. But if there are no laws, how will you go after them?
And that's always the key. I mean, this was a comment that she made that was very Bernie-esque. You know, sorry, Bernie fans, but yes, it's a very Bernie-esque statement where it's just like, you can't really do anything if they're not breaking the law. So therefore, should you change the laws first and make them adhere to it? Now, if they are breaking like certain which I'm sure some of them are,
Sure, definitely. Go ahead.
then yeah, by all means. But it's kind of a moot point if like there's things beyond the limitations of law that can't direct you to actually, you know, do anything. So
Because as attractive as it is, the idea of like retribution against them, I don't fucking know. It, this feels like the backwards asshole. It's just to kind of galvanize people against the evil of coal and gas companies. Like, yeah, they're fucking assholes, but they also have a lot of money they spend in lobbying to make sure the shit they do is relatively legal.
yeah,
Get those fuckers out of Washington and make the laws proper.
exactly. All right, Amy Klobuchar called for a reversal to the Trump administration's move to roll back regulations on methane emissions. This is very dangerous, he said, of the administration's move. Okay.
I think whoever gets in there has to undo all the bullshit they've done with the EPA anyway. So to me, that should just be kind of a given. But
Yeah. And to the effect, regulation of methane gas. Ban the cows. No cow fart.
well, maybe we get smart meat or whatever the fuck. We're all good.
No, just eat more fish and yeah.
But I'm also interested in.
Hey, do like the cows in the Chick-fil-A commercial says, eat more chicken.
Those dudes are fucking assholes. Probably had them around with those like big billboards or whatever, where like they would have the statues of the cows.
Yeah, I know, because I remember like a few years ago when I went to Georgia to visit Georgia, I laughed because we don't see those billboards like that. But if you're in Georgia, you see them everywhere, especially in Atlanta. They're all over the place. As soon as you hit Atlanta, it's just huge Chick-fil-A things, like a row of them, telling you to eat more chicken. Like yeah, it's like they really want your money. But it's not if you're gay, because they hate you.
It's the Civil War of me.
Yeah, anyway. That's another thing we missed. We missed the Popeye chicken Chick-fil-A wars. Jesus Christ. The chicken sandwich wars.
Place, so it didn't really.
Alright. Joe Biden was asked by a 19-year-old activist how young voters can trust him to prioritize their futures over big business. And his response was, I've never made that choice my whole career.
I don't understand that response. Are you saying that he's never been faced with that issue, or?
Yeah, I guess he's saying he's never chosen business over people. I guess. Remember, I told you he was vamping on like Obama and shit like that. He was like, my best friend said that, that time when we went to the pool and okay.
I think he just wanted to point to a couple of things in his record that say like, here, guys, dumb people, blah blah. This almost felt like just not answering the question, just trying to get away from it. Which to me, it feels like a fairly easy question, so I don't see why you politician.
Well,
but whatever.
Maybe he was later in the line of. No, he was, because I remember I was talking to you last night. This was around 8, 9 or so. So yeah, this was when NXT UK was on. When I like happened to switch really quick to see that he was on. So yeah, it was past his bedtime. Grandpa. Stories can only tell so many stories. Kids, gotta get to bed. Bernie Sanders was asked whether he would roll back Trump administration plans to overturn requirements on energy-saving light bulbs. Bernie being Bernie, he delivered an emphatic duh.
problem. And it's something I always sense in a lot of these.
Yeah, and
I feel like we focus on. It's not that it's not important, but like of all the environmental issues, like we're having this conversation about fucking light bulbs, like.
Oh, not only that, but you literally gave him a slam dunk question.
Sure.
Like, you fucking set that up for him to be the. You basically gave him the raise the arm moment again.
He was probably paid for by Bernie.
I know.
But I do feel like we do that a lot, where we look at very serious issues that have like a lot of different things to do to help them, and then some people just focus on like easy gimme things. Like, yeah, we should probably have these fucking requirements. We shouldn't roll them back. Easy. Like, why are we wasting time talking about this when there's like much more impactful things to do?
Well, maybe Elizabeth Warren agrees with you, because Elizabeth Warren said that conversations around regulating light bulbs, banning plastic straws, and cutting down on red meat are exactly what the fossil fuel industry wants people to focus on as a way to distract from their impact on climate change.
Fair enough.
See, again, everybody else has like ideas, but she has more substance to what she said, which it's not like she was saying anything special. Yes, like to your point, which clearly a lot of us already get. So she's not like saying anything new to us about. Yeah, all this stuff is kind of like obvious measures, but there are bigger issues to address. So she was the one to come out and basically make the same comment that me and you made. So me and you should run for president and beat Elizabeth Warren.
Make her have the uncomfortable choice of running against black people.
I like y'all a lot. No, she would beat us, because all she would do is just like lean on black women and talk about how we ain't shit, and then like, yeah, girl, you got my vote, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, so she always has a plan. She always has a plan. And she would know how to beat black men. Exactly. She's the fucking taskmaster of politics. She will learn your move and do it. God damn it. Okay. Your boy, Pete Buttigieg, said that successfully combating climate change might be more challenging than winning World War II. This is the hardest thing we will have done in my lifetime as a country. Which, too, I agree. I also agree to his point of pretty much the common sense factor that, yeah, you do have to set certain regulations and measures, and you do have to actually work on it and trust in science. It's funny because his faith was brought up, and when the science thing came up, and it's in that article that I sent you earlier. Let me pull that up, where he was talking about Trump. Let's see. Yeah, boy, as you like to call him, Booty Face. I don't know why, because I feel.
It's because we're secretly buddies.
You sure you ain't trying to steal him from his husband?
I mean,
Mr. Buttigieg, get your man from him.
I mean, I'm not gay, but he is handsome and smart and might be the fucking president. What?
I mean, he seems to be.
Forever.
Alright, so Pete's husband needs to be on the lookout, because there's a trollop named Cardiac coming to take advantage.
They get protection for like the rest of their lives, right? I might need the protection.
Yeah.
And hey. Interracial couple running for president?
Oh my god, that would be a killer. If you can get an interracial homosexual couple running, that's actually a beautiful thing. But
And he's gonna
was
marry a white
he
girl.
was tying he was talking about how um, climate change and faith being tied together, and he was mentioning how he said that inaction over climate change to him is a sin, um, because people had issue with that, and I really liked his response to it, and I see why you're so like enamored and drunk in love with this man. Because this is what he said when people were upset about him like using citing religion to it. All right. Frankly, every religious and non-religious moral tradition tells us that we have some responsibility of stewardship, some responsibility for taking care of what's around us and our neighbor. Eventually, it gets to the point this is less and less about the planet as an abstract thing and more about specific people suffering specific harm because of what we're doing right now. I'm going to tread carefully here because it's very important to me never to impose my religious views on anyone else, because I know what can happen when people in government decide to do that. But we're having a national conversation. I think it's absolutely appropriate for us to speak to people whose moral and political choices are guided by faith. This isn't just about saving the planet, it's about saving people. And I do think the believers need to ask if what's going on in Washington is compatible to what their moral calling tells them to do when it comes to the climate.
Fair enough.
So basically, he calls out people who are religious, like said, "Yo, y'all talking all this shit, but your morals are telling you, hello, you're supposed to do the right thing."
I would have just told him to shut the fuck up, but you should know.
No, but I think that was a brilliant move because you're appealing to, again. It's one of those things me and you talk about, and I talk about with other people about when it comes to religion. How a lot of religious people love to take their faith and weaponize it in ways to make it look like what they're doing is right. And I find like how interesting he's weaponizing faith against the faithful by pointing out the simple fact that for all your high and mighty, holier than thou talk, you're forgetting the one simple thing that's supposed to be rooted in your faith, and that's doing the morally right thing. And I thought that was a brilliant way of like basically saying, "Shut the fuck up," essentially, you know. Because what can you say around? What can you say to that other than just shut the fuck up? Because you can't dispute that.
Fair enough. But what does I joke around about, my disdain for him as a heathen myself? One of the first things I said about him when I first heard him talk is, it's interesting to have a Democrat who can actually talk in an appealing way about religion, at least to those to whom religion is appealing. It doesn't work on me, but because you don't really see religion used as such a talking point of the right that it's like we almost don't even want to touch it on the left. And he's like the only person I can think of, even here among this group,
Yeah.
that can talk about religion in a genuine, good kind of way, intelligent, interesting way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's gonna be Biden and Bernie.
God damn it! Like one of those old men is gonna go against another old man, and I need Trump to hurry up and eat enough McDonald's to have his heart explode. At least avoid that, and then then we can then it would be a much more palatable thing to watch because I can stomach seeing them go at fucking Mike Pence more than I can. Right, because Mike Pence just looked like he'd just be on TV and he would just like scare the shit out of people. Anyway, because he looks like one of those like people from Bloodborne and shit. So that alone is going to lose him in any election.
Yeah.
Duh. But going back to the thing, the last two people, Beto O'Rourke said that should he be elected president, his administration would spend federal dollars to help people in flood-prone areas to move to higher ground. People would move out of those neighborhoods if they could, he said. To which I say, would they?
Yeah. Not necessarily. Like, some people are just attached to a place because they just grew up there or their family's been there a long time. And honestly, I think the better question is, should they? Because you should want some of these places to just be better places, but rather than everybody always trying to escape them. Sure, we should have, disaster. I don't want to say recovery funds because that's after the fact, but ways to be more proactive about disasters. That's fine, I guess. I don't know. Beto is still not attracting me. He can go away now.
He sure does know how to cuss up a storm, that's for sure.
He's a fucking asshole.
It kills me how people get such a charge from him cursing when he starts getting passionate about issues. Like, okay, I get it.
I still think of that image of him getting a haircut. I'm like, this guy's not a man. Which, I say that as somebody who gets my hair fucking retweeted.
Right, like you going to like your fucking appointment. Come on, dude.
The difference is I don't go out there like shooting out pictures of this shit. Like maintain the image of super duper manliness there.
Okay. Alright, and lastly, Cory Booker is a vegan, but he says he won't try to get other Americans to stop eating hamburgers. Freedom is one of the most sacred values. Whatever you want to eat, go ahead and eat it. So basically, he took a turn and was like, nah, fuck that. Let the cows fart all they want. You want your steak, you gonna have your steak. Treat yourself.
I'm pretty sure what happened is that Cory Booker is a cannibal, and he's just kind of playing.
He's trying to fatten us up. like it's funny because we were making this joke before about him being a vegan and all of that. And I made mention that he's probably not a vegan. He probably just don't want to eat animals because they're not intelligent enough for him to hunt. He wants to hunt something much more challenging, which is human beings. So therefore he avoids eating animals because he's looking for human flesh. So yeah,
when he finally gets caught, he's gonna pull out the same quote and be like, look man, freedom is one of the most sacred
right.
things. Whatever you want to go ahead and eat it, and I'll do the same.
Right. So he's basically wants you to eat all the beef because beef is high in fat. That shit weighs on you and stays forever in your system. So you're gonna be fucking fattening up yourself for the Cory Booker hunt. He's gonna have free range humans. Just milling about in his backyard. You go to his house and you just see a barn, and it's just nothing but people, and they're ready to be released one by one for his hunt. That's why you always hear he always hears gunshots outside of his house because his hunt masters are bringing him his game.
I was finally caught.
Exactly.
Look like he has strong legs.
Right. So they. Yep, that's it. You probably hear a lot of dogs barking too, bloodhounds. Alright, so.
We're gonna discover something just slightly weird about him and be like, see, vindicated, he's a psycho.
I mean, he's a vegan. I can't really find fault with the man because looking at his resume of women, god damn it. Yo, did you see the chick that he broke up with to get with Rosario Dawson?
I don't remember.
His ex is probably finer than Rosario Dawson. Think about what I just said, people. Cory Booker's ex is possibly finer than Rosario Dawson. That man dates some really, really fine women. And I don't know how they survived that psycho. Like, his resume, I have to pull this up for you, because his resume is just like, yo, god damn it, there's some, like, immaculate women.
That serial killer smile.
It has to be.
He says, like, we should go out, and they're like, okay, don't murder me, and then, you know, they're together for a while.
Like, it's amazing. He gets some amazing women to put up with his facial expressions.
Some people just want to survive.
I guess. Like, look at this. Sorry, ladies, for the objectification, but
Remember, it wasn't me doing it. I'm off.
like,
I mean, she does look a little scared, right? Like, you know. She looks like
I think it's because he's in a picture with him.
She looks like he said, "You better smile as big as you can, or you'll never smile again." And he just like turns to the camera and smiles. If you just think about how to escape.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I'll just send you the search feed, because it's too many pictures. It's maddening to see the, like, it's just, wow. Like, this psychopath is out here with all these chicks.
All I'm seeing is that he doesn't date white women because he's racist.
I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with being a racist.
Not when it comes to dating fine ass women like this. In fact, I think they did say, yeah, I'm looking down here now. Like, didn't they say he dated Mindy Kaling?
I'm still gonna stick with my search. He's a cannibal.
I bet you if you look back in his resume, you'll find a white woman. He don't care.
Flip the page.
Yeah, it's like, oh, nah, my resume's long, bruh. You know, I'm sure he's had. Yeah, somehow this man has been able to be in the presence of a bunch of fine women without getting someone like Jeffrey Epstein to pay for him for them, or Russians to provide them for him.
Well, dang. Well, okay, then apparently we should say that. Hashtag no filter.
I'm just saying. You see, this dude has some fun.
That was the last of the candidates at this particular gathering.
Yeah, if he wants to improve the climate, stop hoarding all the women. Jesus Christ.
But
Like,
I think they
elevate
all
the
said-
dating climate for us men. Jesus.
I think they all said reasonable stuff. Some of it to me too benign to bother saying, or not benign, too obvious to, you know, to be bothered talking about it. But whatever. Nothing too nuts out there.
Nah, I don't think that the thing did as much as people think it did. I mean, it's nice to have the healthy debate about climate. As that one article I sent you said, one of the winners is Jay Inslee, because hey, his focus on the climate and the environment has definitely helped the conversation become a, like, part of the overall importance of the campaign, because it is an overall important topic to concentrate on. We've been stuck in this like cycle of fuck science under Trump that I think people forgot about that shit, honestly.
To what extent was it really a debate as such? 'Cause
It wasn't a debate, it was town halls. They were just like, one person would come on, they do their 30 to 45 minutes, the next person come out, They do the 30 to 45. That's why Cory Booker didn't show up until like 11:45 because everybody else that went on
Murdering
before.
people.
Yeah,
Busy murdering people.
yeah. He's like, yo, I got Tim and Jeremy outside waiting to be released. Could you hurry this up? I need some fresh meat.
A little longer to wrangle them than I expected.
He may be a vampire, actually. That's could be it.
Well explainable.
Yeah, that's why he's a vegan because like I don't
Have
eat
you
flesh.
guys ever seen him during the day? No.
You know,
I don't want to picture this motherfucker in sunlight.
unless he's in the Senate building, I've never seen him outside. Yeah, and you know you don't have to really go outside to be Senate. You catch your car. They have the underground garages. The Senate offices are connected and all that. Yeah, you don't never have to see daylight during the day.
People aren't listening to the facts I'm spitting about the murderous King Booker over here.
Can you dig it, sucker?
Anything else we wanted to touch on?
I think that's about it for the major news. I mean, NXT will be going to regular TV in a couple of weeks. AEW will be on TV in a few
Yeah,
weeks.
I'm about to say, that's interesting time to be a wrestling fan.
If you're a wrestling fan, you're gonna feel like you're back in the '90s because you will have competing shows on at the same time, and you will have wrestling on almost every day of the week, like back in the day. So, honestly, yeah, because once SmackDown makes the move to Fox, they're going to be on Thursdays, or to still say Tuesdays.
I think it's on Friday.
Okay, so you're gonna have Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you want to consider Impact, that's just Thursday. You know, I'm just saying, but yeah, you're gonna pretty much have like a week full of nationally televised wrestling again.
And NXT is going to 2 hours, which is something easy to skip over, but it's a doubling in length. So
I'm just curious, what's gonna happen to NXT UK?
I think it's just staying what it is for now.
But are they gonna move the date? Because if you're making this 2 hours, then you're gonna bump that off. So maybe that'll be the Thursday show.
I don't remember what time they said it was. Because I think what time does NXT come on now?
NXT comes on at 8. NXT UK comes on at 9. That's why I was wondering if
Maybe they'll show it the same. Well, I don't know. It's a good question. I guess we'll see in a couple of weeks.
yeah. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with that. That will be very, very interesting. Damn. Yeah. We really do have the potential to have a wrestling on almost every day of the week again. Like back when we had Sunday Night Heat, Monday Night Raw,
I feel like I definitely because
SmackDown on Fridays, Impact when it was actually good on Tuesdays. Damn, yeah. You had Nitro and Thunder. Shit, yeah.
Thursday might seem like an open slot now, but I think just generally you're gonna have to pick one. Like maybe this week I'll watch NXT, so I'll pick up AEW tomorrow, or the other way around. Because I mean that's what I've done with other shit like 205 Live and shit like that. I just pick them up the next day. So I feel like because they're coming on at the same time, you're gonna have to pick anyway, and it'll just kind of stretch out throughout the rest of the week.
But it's more brilliant for WWE because sure, if you decide I don't want to watch NXT, I'm sure they could just put the rerun on fucking WWE Network, so you're still gonna watch it.
That's part of the reason I probably won't watch. I already don't watch NXT live. It'll be new for me. Like I'm always at least an hour late to it. But because I know it's harder to get AEW, I say harder. I'm gonna have a DVR. So I don't have a good excuse, but something in my head already tells me that, like, all right, I already know I can watch NXT on the WWE Network whenever the fuck I want. So fuck it. I'm just gonna watch AEW, and I'll pick up NXT later.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any rational sense because I'm gonna have them both recorded anyway. But I think just something about growing up at a time where you could not record shit. There's still certain things in your brain.
Yeah, like back in the days, the going between the Nitro Raw Shit was crazy because you just had to flip between commercials and hope nothing happened major. That shit was funny.
Like even nowadays, like I'll see something on TV, I'm like, oh fuck, I can't go to the bathroom. I can totally press pause because technology is technology now.
Right.
Something in my head doesn't ever think of that until afterwards.
Yeah, no, it's funny how that works nowadays. God, y'all have it so good to not have to like worry about that shit because it was a pain. It was definitely a pain. Try watching sports. God damn it! If you were into sports, oh my god.
I think because my house we didn't like record just to like if I missed just a TV show or something, I'd have to wait until like the rerun circle back around to it again.
You know what this makes me wish would come back, which it never really latched on, and I feel like it could latch on now since we're in a like immediate gratification age of things. Picture in picture. I'm sure you don't remember picture in picture TVs, do you?
You could just like
You literally could be watching one channel and then put it turn on a second channel and put it in a small monitor, like how we have this right here. Like, say I would be the like main box and you would be right there in the corner, so I could watch two things at once. That never really caught on, and I feel like that would catch on now. Cause I would so do that. Granted, the other thing would be muted because you couldn't get both volume streams at the same time. But still, like something like wrestling, I could totally see myself fucking watching a match in the corner and while watching.
I was thinking about somebody. You might be right because my first thought was, well, SmackDown does that essentially with some of its commercials.
Yeah.
I always disengage, but I think the difference here is that I would actually be interested in both of the things. Whereas with the SmackDown situation, I'm not usually interested in the commercials, so my brain shuts down around it because it's the main thing.
Right.
But if I'm picking the main picture and the one that's inside, presumably I'm interested in both, so I'm gonna stick around. So it might still work. You might be right.
Yeah, no, that would work very, very well. It would so help with sports too, because it's a lot of football that's going to be on, and I kind of wants to see it all. Yeah. Get on that. Trump, you're the TV president. You should be advocating that. See, you can't even do that part of your job right. God damn it.
He's too busy yelling at the talking to
Right. The little man in the box said that I... Alright, Trump. Whatever. Go eat your fish fillet. I guess that's it for all the major talking points in this episode. And it's all recorded now. Yeah! Alright. It ended up recording longer than I wanted to because I fucked up. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll take that out.
The hurricane, good stuff, good week.
Right.
Actually,
Yeah.
a quick random thing. I'm curious about your take on this. 'Cause I was having this argument with my mom about this. I'm not saying like you shouldn't take hurricanes seriously and shit like that, but I feel like the way we follow their news coverage is detrimental to how serious people take it. Because especially here, like, we're growing up in Florida, like having hurricanes. It always feels like they always say like it's gonna be the end of the fucking world, and then most of us are fine. And I feel like that kind of desensitizes people to a real risk. Or even in this case with the Dorian. And before I go further, I should say that the Bahamas were not as lucky as us. So, send money and shit that way if you can. But I hear people freaking out about like, oh, it went to Category 5. Holy shit! I feel like they're doing us a bit of a disservice by talking about it that way, because they'll say it's a Category 5, but it's like, is it going to be a Category 5 when it hits us? Like, it's not that useful to know how fucking crazy it is over there in the ocean right now. It's more useful to know like what it's going to be around the time it comes here. It's just a certain way they talk about certain things.
Well, part of the problem is, and sorry to all the meteorologists, enthusiasts, it's one of those like very imperfect sciences, where it's not something that, as they say, you can't predict the weather. It's it's a very, very true thing, because you can read all the patterns and things that you want, but at the end of the day, Mother Nature's going to do what Mother Nature's going to do. So, like, to your point though, broadcasting all these numbers and these statistics and like all this stuff like that kind of fucks up people mentally, because they're gearing themselves up, they're still stealing themselves up, they're depriving you of poor food like they did for this when you went to the grocery store just to get something basic, and you can't even get something basic because it builds up this whole, like, you know, anticipation that the world is ending and we need to like hunker down like that. Like, sure, you do need to be safeguarded, and you do need to, you know, make sure that you have provisions, that you are able to, you know, survive and be safe. But they announce it like you're fucking about to enter the apocalypse, and that shit's not cool. Like,
And they do it each time. And again, I just think the way they talk about certain numbers is misleading. Because I remember, I think at one point it was like climbing up into like being or something, so category 3, and they were like, it's a category 4, and I remember looking up and be like, no, they're saying it'll be a category 4 when it hits here. That is different.
right?
It was already a category 4. That might mean it might still escalate upward, which it did eventually. So it's like, you keep throwing information at us in a way that I think you're just confusing people more. And I don't know, there's this weird culture about like having to check it every 10 seconds. Like, all right, where's it now? Where's it now? And I see how other people freaking out about it. I just kind of look over and I'm like, look, bro. Maybe it's because I've been through them enough. You're not really gonna know. It could be the end of the world. It could not. At some point, stressing about it is just stressing about it. Like, it's not, you know, you already boarded up your shit. Stop worrying.
Yeah, but they definitely make it huge. Like, at the same time, I guess it's better to over exaggerate than to underestimate. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like both of them are very, very dangerous things that's done.
I feel like for me, it just causes a lot more mental anguish than like the last one we got. I can't remember, but you know, I already prepared myself and all that shit. I did what I could reasonably do, and then you just hear all this shit. People just like, you gotta evacuate the state, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Look, bro, I already took the precautions I could afford to take right now. At some point, you are just saddling me with more and more negative.
Yeah, you're stressing me out, and you're making this.
In a way that's not like constructive. Like, it's not making me any more safe. The fact that you were just like freaking me out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Point of diminishing returns. I don't know if I'm crazy with that point. I'm certainly
No.
not saying disregard safety. I'm just saying, like, I think you should keep mental health in mind during oncoming disasters.
Yeah, no, you should, but people don't do that. And again, to, you know, not to bash media as a whole, but part of it is that they want the theater to draw people to their channel. So what better way than to hype up shit like this, the storm of the century and all that shit. Like, you see stuff, Dorian devastates, you know. It's like, yeah, I get it, it's really, really fucking shit up bad, but you have to make some grand, you know, title to it and all that. Some eye popping, you're on some eye popper shit, you know, with it.
And then even in the aftermath, you get some bad, you know, thoughts about it. So I'll see people putting up these memes like, Dory's the bitch didn't do anything. No, it didn't do anything here. Bahamas got fucked in the butt hard. No loot. Sorry. But because, like, from our standpoint, we didn't see it that much. I fear that the next time they're going to say, like, Category 5, people are going to be like, yeah, but we had one last year. It wasn't a big fucking deal.
All right.
For us, because Bahamas took the run of it, but, you know.
All right, yeah. No.
All that to say, I guess I'm going away from Florida, so fuck it. That doesn't matter anymore.
All right, Mr. Big Time City Boy.
I'm getting
You're gonna cry, like, Mom, I wanna come home.
I was like, all right, fair enough, karma, I guess. I respect. But that was the last thing I wanted to jump in there, because I feel it would have felt weird to talk about breathing.
No, I totally get it. Yeah.
All right, folks.
Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm gonna go watch sports ball. He's gonna go buy some more art. I already see it coming. You already bought it. Oh man! All right, so you got to share with the group. Send it to me in prod so we can fuck with you.
There were 2 pieces, and I picked the cheaper of the 2, so I feel good about it.
Okay. Okay. We won't say any more. All right. So, thank you everybody. We appreciate you guys for watching and listening. Make sure to check out all the links, the Patreon, all that good stuff. Check out my boys Herb Refresh, all that. Other things, social media wise, Twitter. You know the rest of the spiel. I've said this enough. You should know it by now. Anyway, you guys take care, and we will see you next week on The Reason Reborn. All right? Peace.